This week, an on-duty subway train conductor is stabbed twice. Plus, an illegal marijuana grow house busted in a residential neighborhood. And
seems like it's a free-for-all, and they just do what they want to do.
Drift racing causing chaos on Long Island roads. Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. For our first story this week, we begin on the Upper East Side. That's where former New York Governor David Paterson and his stepson were assaulted. 4 people were arrested in connection to this attack.
Well, 4 people are under arrest accused of assaulting former Governor David Paterson and his stepson over the weekend. The suspects include 2 boys, 12 and 13 years old.
All right, police still looking for one more assailant. Fox 5's Duarte Geraldino has more on how the attack happened.
On the right side of your screen is 34-year-old Diamond Mintor. On the left, 40-year-old Trevor Nurse. Police arresting the 2 of them in connection with a gang assault on former New York Governor David Paterson and his stepson, Anthony Sliwa. Both of the suspects are NYCHA employees.
He attacked me.
As he was being led into a police car, Nurse told reporters he was acting in self-defense.
He punched me in my eye. His son punched me in my eye.
Are you on top of the fire myself?
Nurse is being charged with both gang assault and assault on a victim 65 years old and older. The former governor, who is 70, admitted on Good Day New York he didn't back down after being struck.
I know that the person that hit me, I smashed their head into the window at McDonald's and threw them on the ground.
The NYPD released surveillance footage of 5 suspects. Police say the gang assault took place just after 8:30 Friday night. Paterson explained it all started when his stepson saw 3 people climbing a fire escape on 2nd Avenue between 96th and 97th Street. He told them to stop. Later, when Paterson and his stepson went back outside, they ran into the same group.
Well, the bad thing is that when Anthony fell, which is usually the time that a fight ends, they continued to assault him.
2 juveniles, ages 12 and 13, have already turned themselves in.
I was so happy that their parents came with them, that they turned themselves in, that they're being accountable here. I think that's a good start for them.
Now remember, police say 5 suspects were involved in this assault. 4 have either been arrested or taken into custody, but there's still 1 more out there.
More drama at City Hall as embattled New York City Mayor Eric Adams' staffer Mohammed Bahi has been charged with witness tampering and record destruction, all in connection with a federal investigation into illegal campaign contributions for Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign.
Well, another day, another resignation at City Hall. As expected, Mayor Adams' top deputy, Sheena Wright, announcing she's stepping down.
And that's not all. We're also learning that the former aide to the mayor has been charged with witness tampering and destroying records. Fox 5's Morgan Mackay is live outside court in Lower Manhattan with more on the corruption scandal that really has rocked the Adams administration. Morgan.
Stephen, Natasha, Mohammed Bahi left federal court just a short time ago. He was already in federal custody following his arrest this morning. This was not an arraignment, so no plea deal was entered at this time. But these charges that Bahi is facing is in connection with the federal investigation surrounding Mayor Eric Adams. Now, Adams was asked today if federal prosecutors lodge any additional charges against him, would he resign? He says he plans to finish out his term and run for re-election.
Did Mayor Adams tell you to do anything illegal?
Mohammed Bahi not saying a word as he left federal court. He was arrested Tuesday morning at 6:20 a.m. and charged with witness tampering and destruction of evidence in connection with the federal charges against Mayor Eric Adams. Bahi was serving as a senior liaison under Adams, but resigned Monday.
I always found him to be thoughtful, but he has attorneys. Let his attorneys handle his case.
The indictment alleges that in 2020, Bahi organized a fundraiser for Adams at what the indictment describes only as a Brooklyn construction company. Prosecutors say that 4 of the employees at this construction company made donations to Adams' campaign in their own name. But Bahi urged the founder of the company, who is not named in the indictment, to reimburse these employees for their contributions, which is called a straw donor scheme. When their homes were later raided by FBI agents, Bahi urged the founder and alleged straw donors officers to not cooperate with federal investigators. Bahi then allegedly relayed this to Adams. Later, when Bahi's home was raided by federal agents at the end of July of this year, federal prosecutors allege that Bahi tried to obstruct the investigation by deleting the encrypted messaging application called Signal from his cell phone, which he used to communicate with Adams. Adams denying today that he told Bahi to do anything illegal.
I will never instruct anyone to do anything illegal or improper. The only instruction I give people all the time: follow the law.
Meanwhile, in just the past month, more than 10 top-level officials have either resigned or been fired from the Adams administration, and a large chunk of those have been caught up in federal investigations. The latest is First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright. Her husband, Schools Chancellor David Banks, and her brother-in-law, Deputy Mayor Phil Banks, have already resigned. All three have had their homes raided by the FBI and cell phones seized as part of a separate bribery investigation. Adams is replacing Wright with Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, but Adams insists that no one is resigning because of these investigations.
Not one person that has decided to do something else with their life said, Eric, it's because so much is going on. Not one person.
Now, Bahi was released on a $250,000 bail. He is due back in court on November 7th.
We now go to the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, where a conductor on the 4 train was stabbed twice after telling the suspect he had to get off the train at the last stop.
Fox 5's Kendall Green live at Kings County Hospital, where he's currently being treated. Kendall.
Hi, good evening, Steve. Natasha. 60-year-old Myron Pollock is currently in critical condition, currently undergoing surgery, as MTA officials share the person arrested for the stabbing has faced jail time for similar attacks. First responders flooded the Utica Avenue station this morning in East Flatbush around 10:50, following an MTA conductor who was stabbed multiple times while wrapping up his route on the southbound 4 train. Just doing his job. One 60-year-old Myron Pollock has done more than 30 years. Police say he was clearing passengers from the train when he told a man on board he had to go. And after a brief exchange of words,
this guy chased Mr. Pollock, our conductor, onto the platform, and he attacked him brutally and stabbed him multiple times.
Transit police weren't far from the attack, happening in real time. They were close enough to see and hear the commotion.
They immediately went to the commotion, and they observed the perpetrator on top, still on top of the victim.
Authorities then arrested the 24-year-old perpetrator, who's facing an attempted murder charge, sharing their outrage surrounding the stabbing that sent Pollock to Kings County Hospital, where he's currently undergoing an emergency surgery.
He arrived to the emergency department in critical condition with multiple wounds to the chest, abdomen, axilla, and thigh.
The attack, officials say, is the latest example of transit recidivism, disproportionately impacting safety on the rails among riders and employees. Noting the man arrested faced time in jail for previous attacks on MTA workers and customers, and he was released in February to do it all over again, MTA CEO Jano Lieber shared.
This is a guy who not only has a long rap sheet, but who has made it a practice of attacking people in the transit system, including our employees.
Surgeons are doing all they can to heal Pollock, a hard-working train conductor, and comfort his wife and colleagues. All prayerful he's able to make a full recovery.
He's a real pro, and everybody relies on him. He mentors people. He's one of those guys that knows his way around the system and is beloved by his fellow employees.
Now, prayers continue for Mr. Pollock as MTA officials say they want people who are responsible for these type of attacks banned from the transit system altogether.
Down in Manhattan Beach in Brooklyn, the New York City Sheriff's Office busted a suspected marijuana grow house in a residential neighborhood right across the street from a daycare center.
Well, it looks like your average, quiet, residential Brooklyn neighborhood.
All right, but as Fox 5's Kendall Green shows us, police say the house on Exeter Street was home to a pot-growing operation just across the street from a daycare.
New York Sheriff deputies and NYPD officers seized a massive amount of marijuana Tuesday morning as they carried out a raid on what they tell us was an illegal cannabis grow house.
These are things that should not be happening at all in anyone's community.
Deputies handled large bags of weed from the home on Exeter Street in Manhattan Beach, Brooklyn, as neighbors watched the bust take place.
I saw a lot of policemen here. It's so unusual.
Authorities share the raid followed a 911 call Friday at the same home for a dispute. But once they got inside, officers say they spotted this elaborate operation with an excessive amount of marijuana plants in plain view.
You have approximately 90 full-grown plants on the inside, and you have probably more than 100 pounds of product there, anywhere between 50 to 100 pounds of product that's already packaged.
I don't think it's a big deal because weed is legal in New York. We're in New York.
But the sheriff's office arrested an individual in connection with the operation. Since per state law, a person can grow up to 3 mature and 3 immature plants at any one time. But it limits residents to 6 mature and 6 immature plants at a time. But as the home sits feet from a daycare and a nearby park, parents share their concern after weeks of suspicion.
The last couple weeks we've been smelling like weird stuff around, like from the outside.
Now, one resident who didn't want to go on camera stopped us and shared that he knows the homeowner of this home and blames this solely on a tenant, as other neighbors share that they're pretty disappointed about it because they pay quite a bit of money to live in this neighborhood, including hefty taxes, and they'd hope that this would be a drug-free zone.
Our kids are going to be around this. Like, they see this, they see these people.
As other parents, despite the optics of their neighborhood, say not much catches them by surprise these days.
It's part of Brooklyn. You're still in Brooklyn. So stuff happens, you know, there are drugs around. You talk to your kids, you tell them what's good, what's not good.
Up on the Upper West Side, an elderly woman was punched in the head in an unprovoked attack. Police have now made an arrest in that case.
An Island man is now charged for just brutally attacking this elderly woman. Police say 37-year-old Hansel Asparagosa is seen in this video randomly punching an 81-year-old woman in the face, knocking her unconscious last month while she was just walking her dog on the Upper West Side. Asparagosa was arrested today, charged with second-degree felony assault, and walked out of a police precinct. The victim, Gwella Levi Freeman, sat down with us shortly after the attack, telling us she felt lucky to be alive. She also told us that she wants the man to get professional help instead of jail time. Gwella released a statement to Fox 5 today after learning about the arrest. She says, quote, "I'm very happy and relieved that the man was caught and that he is off the street. Hopefully he will be able to get the psychiatric help that he needs."
Amid an escalating corruption case against Mayor Eric Adams and a wave of resignations, a former FDNY chief has pleaded guilty to accepting bribes in exchange for prioritizing inspections.
Today, one of 2 former FDNY chiefs recently indicted has accepted a plea deal for conspiracy charges. Brian Cordasco, who worked at the Fire Prevention Bureau, was indicted on bribery and corruption charges. Now, both Cordasco and another chief, Anthony Sacavino, are accused of accepting thousands of dollars just to give preferential treatment during fire safety inspections. Both retired from the FDNY earlier this year.
And finally, we leave the city for Long Island. That's where authorities say multiple drift racing meetups over the weekend wreaked havoc on roads in the town of Brookhaven.
Some insane driving on Long Island roadways this weekend. Police say several groups organized so-called drift racing meetups.
All right, in one gathering, a woman was hit by a car. New tonight, we're learning a second person has been arrested. Fox 5's Jody Goldberg shows us the craziness that was caught on camera.
Officials are calling it a coordinated night of chaos in the town of Brookhaven, and police say it ended hours after this woman was struck by a car. She survived, but we stopped the video right before impact.
It basically woke up the whole entire town. We really couldn't see what was happening because all we saw was a plume of smoke.
Smoke from fireworks, engines revving, drivers doing donuts, and drift racing, where they purposely lose traction. These so-called scheduled mobs took place early Sunday morning in front of crowds, many people capturing it on their cell phones.
It seems like it's a free-for-all, and they just do what they want to do.
This video shows an ambulance trying to get past this intersection in Miller Place. At the same time, other meetups were full throttle in Sound Beach, Shirley, and Patchogue.
Ultimately, they invariably will crash into each other, crash into bystanders, may take the life of innocent people or their own lives.
Tire marks can still be seen on the road. Surveillance cameras at this speedway were damaged.
They're trying to climb on the roof of the building here to get away from the police.
One person was arrested and faces charges, including reckless endangerment, but others will likely be held accountable, according to officials who say this won't be tolerated.
If you think you're going to drive out from Nassau or from Queens and you're going to take your plates off when you get here, they're going to get you.
Local lawmakers plan to introduce legislation as early as this week to increase penalties for those involved. And as for the Suffolk County Police Department, I'm told they're reviewing videos and evidence to hold drivers accountable, but also spectators for unlawful assembly. Now, anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number 800-220-TIPS.
That's this week's Crime in the City. Subscribe for more at youtube.com/Fox5NY.